Get loose.
You thought you'd be fired by now, didn't you?
No, I might be. We're not live. This could never see air.
Day 9. Hold on. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast. He's Tim. Day 9. 31 days. We're back again, Tim. The people are raving how much they love you. You've won the crowd back, so don't screw it up by talking too much.
I am.
Here we are, 1994 or 1995, depending on where you read it. Mosquito.
If you're trying to pirate this movie, you're going to need to type in 1995 is what I was told.
Mosquito is a movie that I remember seeing late night on Sci-Fi. And the one thing that stuck out is the first thing I want to talk about in this movie. Gunnar Hansen is in this movie. He's Leatherface from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And all I can remember about this movie was there was a scene where Gunnar Hansen breaks out a chainsaw and starts killing giant mutant mosquitoes. And that was enough to make me want to revisit this entire movie.
He even does the callback. Hey, it's been a while since I held one of these. It feels good. I didn't know that till you just told me. So now it totally makes sense. I get it now.
I wonder if he's supposed to be playing Leatherface in this movie. That's what
God, he's made it. Now he can speak now.
Was this a total waste of your time, or what did you think about Mosquito?
After you get about 30 minutes in, and it's not a bad first 30 minutes, but this movie gets really good. Like it was astonishingly impressive for what you're expecting.
Well, I mean, it's a simple concept and a great concept for people like us that are in the South. We hate skeeters. All right. So whenever we see a movie named Mosquito, you automatically think giant bugs. But the route they went with it, Tim, was pretty freaking clever because the movie starts off with a UFO crashing into the forest.
So I had to send you a text when I was watching this for the podcast to make sure this was the right one. I'm like, does this movie open up with aliens? Like it opens up in space with a spaceship. And I was like, all right, let's see where it goes.
So, what do you got to drink?
We'll call it sweet tea.
So the movie starts off with an alien spaceship crashing into a swamp. And anybody that knows anything about swamps knows they're filled with mosquitoes. And they zoom in. We really don't get a real good shot of what the alien looks like, nor does the alien carcass come back into play unless I missed something.
Yeah.
But you see a mosquito land on an arm or potentially I don't know what it is, and drink the blood of the alien. That's how we get the giant mosquito. And that's how we have the giant killer mosquitoes through the rest of the movie, because they drank the alien blood of an alien who was too stupid to fly and crashed into the swamp.
And my big gripe about a lot of these movies is how long it takes to get things going. They're giving you the giant mosquitoes immediately. Like that's happening. Boom. First, the second scene of the movie, they're driving, giant mosquito. Like the party started.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of Harry and the Hendersons. Ray and Megan are driving down the road, and all of a sudden, boom, something rolls out in front of them. Skeeter dead, and because she's some kind of like genius, because she works for the National Forest or whatever.
Right, they're all geniuses.
Yeah, she recognizes it's an insect because once upon a time in chemistry class or biology class, she dissected one of these.
It's a proboscis. Like, does she even pronounce that right? I don't think so.
It's a probiotic.
It's probiosis. If you see a bug that big, though, you're not hitting it with a stick, right? Like, you're getting out of there. All right.
And anybody in the South is going to say it's a stinger.
You can see its stinger on him.
There's this movie's like an onion because there's multiple layers all throughout this movie. You're introduced to Ray and Megan. It seems like there's some tension between them, maybe something like anger issues with Ray, like his plot in life or something, but they never get around to talking about it.
I think he's just kind of a jerk, and that's what they go with. But make no mistake, none of these characters are acted well.
No.
But before we get into this, I want to ask you something. The people who made this movie, they had chops somewhere. They made a scene in space with a spaceship. they have these mosquitoes and they know how to make them look cool because these mosquitoes look cool. Like
Yes,
they,
they do.
like the proboscis. I'm not going to be able to say it now because I made fun of how she said it. So the stinger shoots out and it's like covered in green goo and it looks real cool. And they have the scene where its abdomen is filling with blood and all that. But nothing else about this. It's like they knew stuff about movies, but didn't know anybody to put in this movie. Like they made no connections along the way. So
You're
all
right.
this is acted horribly.
This movie needed one person, and Gunnar Hansen wasn't that person, but this movie needed like one legitimate, even B-level movie star.
Yeah, and it would have really put it over the top.
Yeah, like a Corey Feldman, or
you would have heard about this before had they had somebody like that.
A Donnie Wahlberg. I disagree in a way, Tim, about the first 30 minutes because I think it sets up why the last part of the movie is so good because we get to know the characters. I mean, we got Ray and Megan who immediately run over one. Then we immediately jump to the park rangers. Hendrix, I believe his name is. And you think he's going to be the first one to die because
you really do.
He's a bumbling idiot.
Spike it.
He's being a complete pervert at the beginning of it, watching the people camp. And that's a whole nother story. One of my notes on here in particular, Tim, because I know you're a big camper, in the mid-90s, did people just like find a grassy area in the forest and everybody, whether you knew each other or not, just set up 47 tents? I mean, that was ridiculous.
You can still do that. Camping's kind of crazy because now no one trusts anybody else. So it's a lot more spaced out than it used to be. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen it happen. You show up when there's more people there. You just kind of hang out.
That sounds horrible for somebody that's antisocial like me. Absolutely horrible. I can't imagine one reason why anybody would ever want to go camp.
I'm never going to do it again. Like, I mean, you get to a point to where you're like, this is the last time. This sucks.
So we're introduced to Hendrix, the bumbling park ranger idiot. You think he's going to die, but the dude, if this was a Royal Rumble, the dude makes it to the Final Four.
It's so hokey in the beginning with all the slapstick bullcrap that it's surprising how much like gravitas the ending has. Like in the ending, it gets real. Like you care about the character. Somehow all of their stupid story arcs and their bad acting come together and they pull it together for that final scene. And I'll save it. Won't ruin it.
Hendrix fogs everybody. They say the skeeters are real bad. So he gets the fog machine out and he is blowing this fog poison into everybody's face in the area.
And he's having a blast doing it, which I would too. It's like a massive fog machine he's holding in his hands.
And they just hang out. I thought when you fogged an area, you had to clear out or you died.
Well, they didn't do research for this. I mean, they just said, go out there and fog it.
The next character is probably one of the more interesting, Steve Dixon, who works as a meteorologist, Tim. But we find out not a weatherman. He hunts meteors.
Actual meteors.
And he's so smart. He's in the area to try to find a meteor that crash landed. He's too stupid to know it was a spaceship.
And he's there only with a Geiger counter.
He's got a Geiger counter that he supposedly.
And so you're watching like an old Star Trek or something, and they're supposed to be reading like the instrument panel, and you're clicking things. Dude, he makes this Geiger counter look like it has 100 buttons and switches. I can't figure it out.
Somebody with it at one point. He's like aiming it at somebody, and I was like, "What's he fixing to do?" He obviously can't read it because he would be able to find the spaceship.
No,
he's able to find all the dead bodies, which is another thing they didn't really touch on. Is after the mosquitoes, inserted themselves into you, the bodies were drained. And they were like radioactive. So they're like infecting, not only they're infecting and killing people, but they're infecting the whole area with radiation.
Okay. Are we going to do this step by step?
No.
Or do we need to talk about best proboscis insertion?
Dude, there's no throw out whatever you want to talk about mosquito and wolf.
What was your best mosquito proboscis insertion?
It's obviously when the dude gets through Mosquito goes, I'm next.
Dude,
Mosquito.
And dude, so like I said, the effects person on this movie knew what they were doing.
It's
like
a good looking kill.
Dude, it's a good, like, it looks like a giant mosquito nose is just going right through.
And here's what
that's the wrong answer, by the way. When the dude took it in the eye, that was amazing.
Well, it's personal opinion.
Yeah.
Where was the quality control that goes, guys, this is a great death right here? Instead of maybe taking the stinger and ramming it into that everybody's going to laugh at, why don't we just take it and run it through her head, and the back of it explodes, and you get the gore, the people get their sex scene, and you don't have to ruin a great kill by showing a mosquito injecting.
So they knew that to make a cheesy horror movie, they had to show a naked lady.
Yes,
because I've done enough of these shows to know, like, that's, if there's an unspoken checklist, and that's on it. Like, you're gonna have that, and it's pretty gratuitous.
Yes,
like, you've got the look, like, down her torso, right? Like, I'm like, man, that's.
He hears the girl screaming because he's being murdered. He zips his up and in time to say ow. Then he's running after to save his girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Takes a hit off the beer.
He takes a hit off the beer, and I fall over the bed laughing because that's the best.
Dude, that was great. He's like, get this drink in.
Sorry, he's going. So what happens next is we're introduced to the last group of characters that we're going to meet. And that last group of characters is Gunnar Hansen.
Kevin Nash as an old man, yes.
I don't know who these two people are. They're related. They're all related. Maybe brothers. Hell, I don't know. And they have just committed a robbery. So now we have all the cliches in this movie. We got the smart scientist. We got the ugly girl park ranger. We got the stupid park ranger. We got the boyfriend with no job. Then we got these three guys who, there's going to be a saving grace moment from Gunnar Hansen. He's not going to take a role in a movie like this unless, one, he's out of coke, or two, he knows he's going to have a redeeming character that's going to save the day at the end of it.
A full arc.
Turns out it was both. So they have just robbed a store, and one of the mosquitoes starts chasing, I believe it's Rex.
The parks, I've been to a lot of parks, they don't just put outhouses in the middle of nowhere for you to randomly find and use.
Maybe it was like an ancient artifact from like the old West where the cowboys used to.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take that explanation, because he finds it and there's a giant mosquito in there.
Yeah.
And he runs from it forever. Like, I know how fast tiny mosquitoes are. If there's a giant mosquito, those things are faster than. They chase down a moving vehicle later in this movie, but they cannot catch this redneck on foot for a solid 2 minutes.
Well, he's weaving in and out of the trees.
That's true.
That's what happens.
That's true.
So he, like Tim says, the mosquito chases him for probably 16, 17 miles before he catches the attention of Junior and Earl, and they take off running too. Junior shoots at the mosquito, misses, and blows the chest out of Rex, killing him dead.
Into the back comes out the chest. Like, they want you to know this is dead.
If I found a random outhouse in the middle of the woods, I would expect there really in real life would be a mosquito that damn big.
I would expect at least, I'm not going in it. You're in the woods. Take your business anywhere you want. No one's there.
If I shot at the mosquito and accidentally killed you, I mean, it's over with. I'm done. I mean, I'd get over it and leave, but I'm just saying, you'd feel
terrible. Take the money.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we went through all that work. You'd want me to be happy. I get it. They needed 3 bad guy characters. They needed 2 goofball characters they could kill off so they could keep Gunnar Hansen alive to the very end. I understand it. But Gunnar Hansen, for a long time in this movie, Leatherface, is not a very enjoyable character. He immediately wants to take the RV from the 3 main characters right off the bat. And then he cuts the girl's face with an axe. And then 5 minutes later, they're all friends and saving each other.
Well, so they have
they cut my face with an axe. I'm taking the side of the Skeeters.
So the reason that the proboscis to the eye is better than Junior, like his eyes exploding out of his head, is because the shot to the eye was like sudden and it caught me off guard. Like, as cool as the exploding face was, you knew it was coming as soon as those eyes pop out. And when I say pop out, they're like, boom, out of his head.
Why in the world would they decide to hide in a tunnel? It's not really even a tunnel. It's like a sewage drain in the middle of the forest.
One of my notes is how good of a job they did they had to put these set pieces together. They had to put these scenes together. They're like, look, they can only run through the woods from mosquitoes for so long before, I mean, we can't keep that going forever. So they do the underground sewer pipe thing, which it works because then the mosquitoes only have one entrance in. They can like go through it, and then they have their little standoff where they have the branching pipes, and they all take they do the run out of ammo stick, and because they're coming at it from different directions. And, they light the stuff on fire to keep the mosquitoes away. And then later, they're able to do the same thing at the house when they make the final stand. So if you have, you get the whole, they're in the woods, we're in the sewer pipes, and then we make our final stand at this boarded up house. That's pretty, I mean, that's good stuff. Like, if you're going to make me, I would get sick of, oh God, more mosquitoes in the woods. They do a really good job of this.
That's until somebody asks the obvious question. You can't put a city sewer system in the woods. It would be better if they hid in a giant cupboard or something.
It was drainage because there's no sewage in it. It was just a drainage pipe.
There's no drainage pipe in the forest.
It hadn't rained.
What are you talking about?
That's why it was dry.
I'm just saying, it's ridiculous. But you do have a point. They needed somewhere to get away from for 5 minutes before they retreated to the house.
How do they keep surviving? And it's with these tight places where the mosquitoes only have like a small opening to get to them that they can defend.
Well, here's another thing. If the mosquitoes are radioactive, shouldn't they all be cooked the minute they got in the RV?
Radioactive? No, I think it's...
You want to get fired?
I'm sorry. The dude, when he brushes off that dude, when they're pulling that guy from the river, he's like, wait a minute, won't we get radiation poisoning? The guy's like, dude, forget about it. They just kind of squashed that early in the movie. They brought it up, and the expert said, it's not a problem. So there you go.
No, it's radiation. Well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's cool.
Help me out here. How did Hendrix die?
Is Hendrix the black guy?
No, Hendrix would be the goofy park ranger.
You don't remember that part?
It's been a week and a half.
So they have this really dumb idea to take the dumbwaiter up to the top so they can jump out of a window.
Yes.
Apparently that's the only access. There's a house with an attic, and the only access is via a dumbwaiter that people are not supposed to be in. And he tries to go in it, and the hinge breaks. The screw comes out, and he goes crashing down. And that's the reason Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy's like, I'm going to save your friend. Life's a bitch. And he like goes in to like say, he's like, I'm going to save your friend. And he redeems himself.
So there, okay. I knew that Steve got into a refrigerator, and that's how he survived.
And then Steve is like, come and get me, come and get me. And he does the Indiana Jones trick where he survived the explosion because he was in the fridge. Fun
fact, Indiana Jones stole the Andy getting in the fridge from Mosquito.
They did.
Book it. Could have sued it. They find a house in the middle of the forest where all the mosquito eggs are. I didn't even know mosquitoes laid eggs. That's how stupid I am. And they blow the house up, and they kill all the mosquitoes, and life goes on. Gunnar Hansen and Hendrix, they give up the ghost. Steve survives. I'm guessing test audiences didn't like it. And all three of them wander off to a happier time.
There's not even like a one mosquito survive type deal. Like the movie ends with they won. They did it.
I like that too. I don't want to see another mosquito out there in the woods. They killed everybody. There you go. So that's 1994/95's Mosquito. Tim, what are you rating it?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. I'm going to go 6.3 out of 10. I like this movie. I think it's a fun watch for a couple of times a year. It's supposed to be bad, but I think it's actually pretty good. The acting's not the best in the world, but they did the best they could with what they had. Tim's already brought up.
They deliver the mosquitoes. There is a ton of giant mosquito fighting in different scenes. Either they're in the art. It's a road. They put a road chase. They do a car chase scene with the mosquitoes because that lasted for a solid 5 minutes where they're just fighting them off in a moving vehicle. That's entertaining stuff.
We don't need to hear in the comments how they use the same scene over and over to show us the mosquitoes we're chasing. We understand that. It still looks so good that you could use it over and over. We don't need to hear about them tearing the wings off the mosquito and how fake that looked. It was great. We don't need to hear about how a chainsaw couldn't really cut through a radioactive mosquito. It's great. Tell us in the comments, what is your rating for Mosquito? What are some of your best parts from Mosquito? Have you ever seen Mosquito? How awesome was Gunnar Hansen's hair? atgnatpodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us. We got all the social medias, Instagram and X now, I think it's called. If you want to support the show, we got Patreon, we got YouTube memberships. Day 9, we're 9 days into this. Tim's surviving. Tim loves mosquitoes, so that's got to be great. Tomorrow, we're coming at you with an even better movie. We miss Blake. Thank you, Tim. We'll see you guys tomorrow.